Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to CAA Travel Talks. Today we are going to one of my favorite destinations, and that is Africa. Today we have Heidi from Member Choice Vacations. Colette, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Heidi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
That's great. As everyone's joining, I'll just let everyone know there's a little Q&A box or a chat box, whichever you prefer, at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop in any questions and we will address those for you by the end of the presentation. Once again, as everyone's just still joining, I just wanted to say a great big welcome. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Karen Taff from CAA North and East and part of our travel product and group team. And we're going to be talking all about Africa tonight. Okay, let's get started.
Excellent.
All right, Heidi, there we go. So why CAA? Well, we've been in business since 1961. We're your full service travel agency, helping you with everything from a simple air only to your incredible safari or your beautiful cruise or European tour, whichever is on your bucket list. We're going to help you from start to finish. And we're there to service you in Ottawa, of course, in Sudbury, North Bay, and Thunder Bay. So why CAA? We're going to give you a little bit of a little extra perk just for being a member. Many of our exclusive partners, such as Member Choice Vacations, Colette, so they offer an exclusive member benefit just as a thank you for being a member. And that applies typically to tours and cruises. And of course, we're there to help you with your car rentals, hotel stays, and much more. That whole CA Vacations program, as I mentioned, is exclusive to us. There are a few little extra perks like a 24/7 member care, best price guarantee. And again, you're going to know that you're going to get something exclusive just for being a member. And of course, the biggest savings is on your travel insurance. As for your membership, depending on what level you're at, you could be saving up to 20%. And for me, I've been in the business a long time now. It's still the most important thing that I pack is my travel insurance, not only to protect me, but also to protect my investment and making sure I've got cancellation, interruption, and baggage insurance. And again, that's a great savings that your travel team can help you with. All right, before you get started, check your passport, make sure it hasn't expired. If it has, go on into the CA offices. We're going to issue your passport photos for free if you are a Premier or a Plus member, and they're only $8.50 if you're an Everyday or a Classic member. Many destinations now require that passport to be valid for 6 months. That's the very starting gate, is check that passport out. We can earn some CAA dollars from our travel reward partners. On our website, you can just go in and hit rewards, and you'll be surprised at how many partners offer extra savings or CA dollars just for shopping with them and for being a CA member. You can actually apply these CA dollars to your bucket list trip, such as Africa this evening. If you need an international driving permit, we can issue those for you in our offices. Another new perk for us this year, very exciting, is a CAA delay pass. So very easy to get yourself set up in my account, and you basically are going to register before you go on your flight if you're booking your travel with us or if you're a Premier member. And if your flight is delayed for 60 minutes or more, you will be having access to a lounge to enjoy that delay. Again, with CAA, you've got your extra 20% saving on travel insurance. If you're needing any luggage or travel accessories, go on into the stores and you can be saving up to 20% there too. And of course, you could be saving 3 cents a liter on Shell and 10% off their car washes. As I mentioned, we have been working with Member Choice Vacations, also known as Colette in the travel industry, for many, many years. Our members absolutely love them. Our team loves them because we have such a great relationship and we know our members are well taken care of. And then tonight we thought, people are really looking at those bucket list trips. So let's explore something new. Let's talk about Africa. For me, Africa was definitely not on my list. It was a destination I went to because I went on a travel trip, and that was 9 years ago. And to this day, it's still my absolute favorite trip. It was absolutely outstanding. The people that I met, the experiences, the wine, the hotels, the safari. It was absolutely mind blowing. And Heidi, thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I remember when you went on that trip. You could not stop talking about
It
it. Yeah. It's definitely a bucket list trip for many, many people, and I'm so excited to talk about it tonight. A little bit, obviously, about Member Choice Vacations. We are really backed by a century of experience. Member Choice Vacations, otherwise known in the regular industry as Colette, we have been around for probably about 108 years, actually. We've been in business since 1918, and we really are an award-winning leader in travel dedicated to meeting the demands of the modern traveler. We proudly offer about 170 plus guided tours across all 7 continents. There is really something for everybody, and the itineraries are curated in destination by our experts, highlighting the must-see sites, off the beaten path experiences, and really that great connection that we create with the local people and the culture. And it's really something to see. And I'm going to show you just a little taste of what Africa has to offer. Really, that's just a sneak peek of what you could see while you're doing a safari. And there really is nothing like experiencing an African safari, the lions, the elephants, the rhinos, the leopards, zebras, and of course the other big game that really attract a lot of attention. But the smaller creatures also in the destinations we visit will also steal your heart. And they really do differ by destination. But, in terms of what we do, early morning, the first 2 hours of the daylight are really the best times to see wildlife. So morning game drives begin at dawn. Most animals are active during this time. You'll even see some of the nocturnal creatures. You'll have time for tea or coffee, maybe a light snack before you hop into that safari vehicle with your experienced ranger and your tracker guide, really whose main goal is to deliver that amazing wildlife experience to you. And then mid-morning, after you've done a little bit of prowling for animals, shall we say, you'll be ready for this grateful breakfast that will be waiting for you when you get back to the lodge or camp. And then you get after lunch, you take a cue from the Wild Kingdom, maybe use the afternoon to relax, enjoy the pool, enjoy some of the, pictures that you've taken, maybe journal some of your safari experience. And then in the late afternoon, early evening, while the wildlife wakes up, we do another game drive. And as that African sun begins to set, there's much activity in the bush. There's lots of great experiences and really a day in the life of safari. Safari vehicles vary from tour to tour, park to park. Generally, travelers can expect 4x4 vehicles with either pop-up roofs or open sides, depending on the tour in the country. We do boats. We do river cruises on the Chobe River. And then, of course, we do some of the safari walks, which are guided into the wildlife, which is fantastic. But it's not just about the safari itself. It's about the camps that we stay at. And some of the tented lodges are stunning. So we stay at the Sangaway Tented Lodge when we're closer to Tarangire National Park, which have stunning views over Lake Burungi. And they are really spacious and spotless. They're equipped with modern comforts, stunning views. Some of the properties, of course, the rooms like this, they're beautifully constructed, tented rooms set on wooden platforms with, solid attached bath, toilet, and a dressing area. So it's really creature comforts of home and lots of ample space for luggage. And the decks all have stunning views of the Rift Valley. Each room has its own private veranda. We also stay at places like the Wallow Lodge in Zimbabwe. It's actually situated in a private game reserve, perfectly nestled in the heart of the Victoria Falls National Park. And this particular tented camp is set along the banks of the Masui River, surrounded by about 4,500 acres of wilderness that really just stretch into that horizon. And you can see the mist from Victoria Falls from your veranda and from the lodge. And this is just one of the rooms that we have there that we use. And it's really classic safari atmosphere with all of the modern creature comforts. Really, really beautiful. And then we even have places that are beautiful lodges that have been built that are completely eco-friendly. This is the Desert Grace in Namibia, sustainably operated lodge, entirely constructed using sandbags instead of bricks. And it is environmentally friendly. The 24 rooms on the lodge are very well insulated, which actually makes them cooler. And it's really located at the gateway to the world's highest dunes in Sossusvlei and the iconic white clay pan of Deadfly, which, when we're in Namibia is just stunning. And this particular room is just one of them. It's an example of this desert elegance offered at the lodge. And then one of my favorite places that I've heard lots of really good things about is the Chobe Bush Lodge, nestled on the Kasane border that leads directly into the world-renowned Chobe National Park. And it's only 150 meters from the Chobe River, where you can do game viewing all year round. That's really, really exceptional. And this is just one of the rooms that we offer. Open plan design, light filled ensuite room where you'll be able to enjoy that distant view of the park from the terrace, or, maybe sink into the bathtub for a soak with your beautiful glass of wine for, before, after you're doing your game drive. So you can just have a little bit of a relax there. The African safaris that we actually have quite a few of them. We've got a Kenya and Tanzania, which I'm going to touch on a little bit more in the beginning, and then just highlight a couple of the others. We have, of course, exploring South Africa, Victoria Falls and Botswana, the plains of Africa, wilderness of Southern Africa. We've got Namibia and South Africa. And then, of course, our brand new one that we just launched is actually our Cape Town to Cairo, which is a ultimate African expedition. So when we talk about Kenya and Tanzania, it is our number one seller for Africa. Number one. I see it every single day. People are booking this particular itinerary because it offers a real taste of proper safari. It is safari every single day. I was talking to somebody that had recently gone on this trip, and they said, I don't think I saw the same animal twice. And it was just one of those things where they got to see so many different animals, many different experiences. The lodges are very different everywhere you go. And this one is just a really, really good overlay of everything that you can think of. So we do the overnight flight. We're in Nairobi for 2 nights, and then we do Amboseli National Park, Karatu, Serengeti, Lake Eyasi, and then again we finish in Tarangire National Park. You'll also notice that it is more of a gentle pace. Member Choice Vacations is really known for the fact that, we have all of our great people that put all of this product together that are based in the destination and take the time and care to make sure that you really get to see the best of everything that you're wanting to see while you're there. But the difference is that we actually stay more nights in each destination. So you have that real balanced approach, that real balance of choice and free time, and just, as I said, that gentle pace, because that way you get to experience the destination without feeling like you've been rushed. And this is one of our small group journeys, and usually this is a maximum of 18 passengers. But we also have the ability to do a pre-tour extension for the Masai Mara, and then we do an optional post-tour extension in Zanzibar. Once you've done all of that safari and seen all of these fantastic animals, you get to relax on a beach, which is just stunning. There's lots of different things that we incorporate into this tour. This is an activity level 3. We rate all of our tours between 1 and 4. And when we say an activity level 3, the general rule is you should be able to walk for about 2.5 hours at a moderate pace, maybe climb about 3 flights of stairs. And obviously, this particular tour offers a variety of terrains and modes of transportation. So I would say this is a really good base. Obviously, a lot of people have done this tour that I've talked to, and it's a really good balance to be able to see the safari, go on the safari vehicles and see all the animals. And it's different activity levels for different tours, but usually most of the ones that we offer are about an activity level 3, but it just differs depending on the destination that you're going to. Obviously, a European country activity level 3 is very different from a safari level activity 3, but you will be spending a bit of time traveling around in the safari vehicles as well. This particular tour offers 7 wildlife safaris. You'll have experience of 7 game drives on this tour that take you all the way from Kenya's Amboseli National Park to the Ngorongoro Crater, followed by time in the Serengeti, and then, of course, Tarangire National Park. So this one, obviously, there is morning and afternoon game drives. Learn to keep your eyes peeled for all sorts of wildlife. Of course, the big 5. But your safari guides are also there to look, and they have keen eyes. Not only will they point out wildlife, but they'll also teach you a lot about the wildlife there as well. We also, in Nairobi, get to visit the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. And it is really iconic because it's one of the oldest charities dedicated to the conservation, preservation, and protection of wildlife. You'll get to see these sensitive creatures up close as they're fed and they're bathed by their caretakers. And they run an elephant orphan rescue and rehabilitation program, but they also are there to protect other endangered species like the rhinos. And then we also visit something that's iconic. I'm sure many of you have seen Out of Africa. It is a award-winning movie, but we actually get to stay at the Karen Blixen farmhouse, and it's we do the colonial farmhouse for lunch, and she was made, of course, famous by her memoir Out of Africa, and she was a pioneer coffee farmer in Kenya, and you get to see a glimpse of her life and get a really great history lesson and a wild African adventure. Our day on safari, of course, the first 2 hours of daylight are the best times to see the wildlife. But I will say that African mornings can be chilly in any season. I'm sure that Karen has some points at the end for dressing for safari, but you'll definitely need a windbreaker or a fleece. And again, dressing in layers really does come in handy. And you get to travel with all of the other guests, have a quick bite before jumping onto that morning safari. But again, we talked a little bit about the day, but there's lots of different things that you'll be able to see. And then, of course, the safari vehicles are going to be your chariot for each safari adventure. And you'll get to have a little bit of a midday break. Could be a picturesque meal or a picnic at the lodge, but you'll have lots of things to talk about, especially after your safari experience. One of the great things that we do in Amboseli National Park, of course, is visit the Maasai village, nestled, of course, on the border of Tanzania and looking out onto the Great Kilimanjaro. We get to visit Kenyan culture and get a glimpse of life in the Maasai village. And there are over 40 tribes of native people recognized in Kenya, but originally from the Lower Nile, the Maasai have actually been in Kenya and Tanzania since the 16th century. So that's quite a long time to be there. And then while we're traveling, of course, when we're going to Amboseli National Park, we get to stay at this beautiful place called the Kilima Safari Camp. And it's our home for 2 nights. And it's in a 420-acre lodging situated within the area of Amboseli National Park with a spectacular view of course, Mount Kilimanjaro in the background. And then, of course, this is one of our guest houses. When you think camp, you might envision a traditional tent setup, but Killam actually features all of the amenities of a proper lodge along with its wild natural beauty. And then in Amboseli National Park, we get to do a fantastic game drive. Again, great chance of seeing 4 out of the big 5 here: the lion, the leopard, the elephant, and the water buffalo. Sadly, the rhino is now extinct in Amboseli due to poaching, but an abundance of other extraordinary creatures really do thrive here. And then one of the places that we stay at when we're in Karatu is, a little humble town, of course, located on the precipice of untamed nature, but we get to stay in this place called the Country Lodge. And they're surrounded by these beautiful, colorful gardens, welcoming hospitality. And it's got 12 double cottages situated around a swimming pool. Both king-size beds and twin bedrooms are available, and they're really tastefully furnished. There's comfy bed, there's mosquito netting, and then, of course, there's also a fireplace for those chilly nights just in case, and they can light that for you. And then we visit the Ngorongoro crater in between Karatu, and it's really most of more opportunities where you actually get to spot the local wildlife with a full game drive. And it's part of the Ngorongoro Conservation Center, which is actually a UNESCO heritage site and containing one of the densest mammal populations in the world. It's actually known as this African Eden, but it's definitely one of the best places to see the Big Five. And then we carry on to Serengeti on this tour, and all of the accommodations on our safari journeys have unique qualities. For starters, they're chosen for their intimacy with a focus on small groups. And this particular place, the Thorn Tree Camp, we stay there for 3 nights. It's a tented safari camp set up semi-permanently, sorry, let me rephrase that, in the central Serengeti area. And it's more rustic. Tented camps are fully equipped with all the amenities of a hotel or lodge, but you can expect to find, of course, running water, electricity, tea, coffee, fully functioning bathroom, and it's just a really great place to stay and something that's really, really unique. Great example here of the tent size and the setup. There are 15 spacious tents with a screened-in sitting area. Both twin and queen size beds are available. And of course, bathrooms have flush toilets, solar hot water taps, and showers. In fact, the entire camp itself runs on solar power. It's a really unique place to stay. And then, of course, we're in the Serengeti, We're going to have 2.5 days of game drives in the Serengeti. You get to enjoy lunch, set off on your first Serengeti expedition in the afternoon once we get there, and then we return to the camp at dusk. And then you have 2 more days of game drives in between all of the adventuring with, the breaks and the provided lunch, and you get to soak in the views and chat about everything that you've seen. So it's a really unique place. And then, of course, Lake Eyasi is one of our stops after we've seen the Ngorongoro crater. These ones have beautiful, spacious rooms located within the property with a private veranda. And there's, a lounge or bar inside, outside dining, open air upper deck, lots of chances to see more wildlife while you're there. And then Tarangire National Park. It is a forested national park known for its giant baobab trees, large elephant migrations, and a host of other wild things. And we get to have another beautiful lunch, do our fantastic game drive, and you may actually see a pride of lions lounging in the shade, or a herd of buffaloes wading into the water, or maybe a parade of elephants passing by. Nothing is off limits. You will always see something that will amaze you. I recently spoke to somebody that just came back from this Kenya and Tanzania trip, and I think he had about 3,500 photos. So I would be interested to see if anybody goes on one of these trips, how many photos you actually take. I believe you may take more. And then we visit all of these beautiful creatures. We get to seek out four-legged creatures, but don't forget there's an abundance of birds, our feathered friends. It is an aviary paradise, home to more than 500 bird species. Lots of different things that you can spot, the kingfishers, the weavers, the guinea fowl, and tons of other winged creatures while we're there. So yeah, this little tour ends. We turn to Arusha on the final day of the African adventure, settle into the day room to relax before lunch. And you've already had a great chat with all of the people that have been on the tour that are sharing details and pictures so that you can go back home with memories. But you also have a pre-tour extension if you wanted to do that. It's, an optional pre-tour extension that offers, stay in the Masai Mara National Reserve, beautiful landscapes, and you're welcomed by a local representative for your pre-tour extension before you join the rest of the group. And then if you want to have a little bit of a relaxing time at the end of this tour, you get to do the 4-night Zanzibar post-tour extension, and just really relax on the beach and soak in something completely different. That was Kenya and Tanzania. I'm just going to give you a couple of highlights of some of the other tours that we have. Exploring South Africa, Victoria Falls, and Botswana is our second biggest selling Africa tour. And it is really magnificent to see the roar of Victoria Falls in all its glory. And this particular tour, we do many different places that we stay on this one. This one is really neat because of the fact that not only do we get the safaris and Victoria Falls, but we also get the ability to see the way that Cape Town is, obviously underneath this beautiful place called Table Mountain. You get to sample different wines in Franschhoek, and when we're staying in Somerset West. But this one is fantastic. We do an overnight flight. We do Johannesburg. Then we are going to Victoria Falls. We do Helensburgh National Park, Somerset West, where we're going to be doing some of that wine tasting and beautiful lunches. And then we're in Cape Town for a couple of days to really soak up the atmosphere underneath Table Mountain. This one does have a pre-tour extension for Dubai, but at the moment, and if you're going to be booking it for next year, obviously we will look at that. But I've had people that have done the Dubai extension, and it has been very, very good. And it's a nice way to break up the trip on your way into Africa. This one again is a tour activity level 3. Again, 2.5 hours, but it just means that you don't want to miss a thing. It is very moderately paced. You should be able to walk about 6 kilometers over a course of a day, very doable, climbing in and out of various modes of transportation. So this one is rated as a 3. This particular tour has 8 wildlife safaris. It is really like no other place on earth. You have about 2.5 days of game drives in the Serengeti, lots of lunches, free time, and just lots of different things to take in. The tour highlights on this one, of course, the first picture, the Cape Winelands form part of the Western Cape province in South Africa. It's the most well-known wine route in the country, known as Stellenbosch and Franschhoek. which are Afrikaans words. I should know I'm married to a Dutchman. He taught me how to say these words. I'm saying them properly these days, which is fantastic. But you have this wine tasting. You'll sip these beautiful South African specialties on a full day, exploring these award-winning vineyards and, of course, the beautiful town. And then when we are in Cape Town, we actually get to do a home hosted meal. We try and put this into some of our tours as much as we can so that you can really immerse yourself in the culture through the food and the people that we meet. And we get to do this Cape Townian family dinner, and we get to exchange stories and get to know what everyday life is like in Cape Town when a local family really welcomes us into their home to do this home hosted meal. And then Table Mountain. Table Mountain, we get to do this fantastic trip by cable car, just as iconic as the wildlife that you've seen on safari. It's one of the most spectacular experiences that you'll have ascending over this, landscape in a cable car to Table Mountain, taking in views of Cape Town, Lion's Head, and historic Robben Island. It is really, really special. A really neat, very well thought out itinerary. If you want to see Victoria Falls, this is definitely one of the ones that I would pick. And then we have a beautiful itinerary called Namibia and South Africa, Epic Landscapes and Wildlife. This one I love because of the fact that we get to visit not only good parts of Namibia, Swakopmund, Sossusvlei, Windhoek, but we also get to see Kruger National Park as well. And this is, a really iconic trip because Kruger really is where most of our African itineraries started. When people started visiting Africa, this was the main one that people wanted to see. And we've included it in this great itinerary along with all of some of the other iconic destinations. We do an overnight flight. We go to Johannesburg. We go to Sossusvlei, Swakopmund, and then, of course, Etosha National Park, Windhoek, Cape Town, and then Kruger National Park. This is, again, average size. Most of these tours are capped at 18, so it's really nice to have a slightly smaller group, but this one is a very active itinerary. This one is one where you have to really be ready to seize the day, whatever it may bring. It is an activity level 4, so you might lead a very active life at home, lots of walking. Maybe you do some hiking. Maybe you get those 10,000 steps in a day, and it's very, very normal for you. You can handle slightly longer walking tours, more than 3 hours, covering 5+ kilometers at a really steady clip. That's why we put it as a 4 because of the different types of terrain that we go on, of course, the flights and some of the safaris that we do. This one has 5 wildlife safaris. And Namibia isn't really the first country a traveler thinks of when you think about going on safari, but the tour really brings the best of both worlds. Travelers really will experience 5 wildlife game drives on this journey between Namibia's Etosha National Park and South Africa's Kruger National Park. But Etosha National Park really delivers a unique safari experience. Rather than traversing the green bush, you'll be exploring a swath of dry white sand and clay, plus some tamboti, wild fig, date palm trees, which really do provide that precious shade and food. But you really do get to see this salt pan, which is so incredibly massive that it can actually be seen from outer space. I know one of the rockets just launched just recently. Maybe they'll be able to see that from space because they just left Earth. But it is a place where graceful giraffes really drink from that watering hole beside, the striped zebras and the ostriches, and it's a place where lions fight for dominance and elephants defend their herds, and endangered black rhinos live on, and hawks, vultures, and eagles really do take to the sky in this particular place. Kruger National Park is really world renowned, offers a wildlife experience that ranks with some of the best in Africa. And it is truly the flagship of the South African national parks. It's, enormous, magnificent, and is one of the most popular game parks in the world. It's home to the world's, the widest diversity of wildlife in South Africa and really does deliver some of the finest game viewing in the world. Not to mention, it offers the most opportunity of seeing the big 5. So if that's on your bucket list and you want to tick it off, this is definitely one that you should look at. And there's a lot of different ways that we highlight things on this tour. One of them, of course, in Windhoek, we visit a local nonprofit dedicating to empowering women through traditional craft work and skill sharing. And then, of course, in Etosha National Park, we actually experience a delicious and very scenic stop with rugged mountains and the pretty Omaruru River as your backdrop. we get to indulge in wine tasting and lunch at the Irongo Mountains Winery. And it's a pioneering boutique winery that you can sample some of that passion and innovation. And of course, tasty grapes amidst a stunning setting, which is lovely. And then the third picture, we actually visit a place called Souvlé, where we embark on an experience of a lifetime in one of Namibia's most dramatic landscapes. It's a wildly unique atmosphere that might just have you feeling like you're in a science fiction movie, but sand really isn't the just a grainy collection of materials, it's medium. So there's natural forces that have, created these sculptures. You're almost witnessing art, but it is home to some of the world's tallest dunes, which tower above the desert-like mountains. You'll have the chance to climb one of these epic dunes to access Deadflay, which is a salt pan famous for, of course, its ancient petrified trees. And this one, we get to do a post-tour extension if you wanted to add, and we go to Livingston. So on the tour, you get to extend your African journey with a stay in Livingstone in Zambia, which is the gateway to one of the world's most breathtaking natural wonders, of course, Victoria Falls. And after you arrive from Kruger, you settle into your lodge on the banks of the mighty Zambezi River, and you have a sunset cruise. You can watch elephants, hippos, and other wildlife that really gather at that water's edge. And then the next day is devoted to exploring the magnificent Victoria Falls with a knowledgeable local guide as you take in this UNESCO World Heritage Site up close. And then you'll get to visit Makuni Village to meet the local chief and gain insight into some of the customs and traditions of the Leia people, which really does bring Livingstone's rich heritage to life. One of our other tours we have, of course, is the Plains of Africa. It's a 14-day tour. Really neat design on this one because there's a couple of different places that we do get to see that maybe we don't touch on other tours. This one, we start with an overnight flight. Of course, we go into Nairobi, but we visit Mount Kenya. We go to the Shaba Reserve. We are in Nyahururu. We are in Lake Nakuru. Try to saying those names twice fast. We visit the Masai Mara, and then we're back in Nairobi, and then we're in Amboseli for the last part of it. And again, one of the things I want to point out on all of these maps, you will see they are very well balanced. We're spending a lot more time in each destination. You have that chance to do the game drives and just really experience the wonders of the camps that you're staying in as well. This one also is a tour activity level 3, like the first ones that we talked about. Not as fast paced as the last one, but we do get to do 13 wildlife safaris on this one. And it's some of the most incredible destinations across Kenya. Most notable, of course, is the Masai Mara, which we've talked about, but it's one of the greatest wildlife theaters in the world. Here we actually get to visit a giraffe sanctuary. So, we've talked about the giraffe sanctuary in a previous tour, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more about this. It's the creation of the African Fund for Endangered Wildlife. It's a Kenyan nonprofit organization, and its main purpose is to really educate Kenyan school children and visitors on the country's wildlife and environment. And it was founded by a Kenyan citizen and his American wife, whose mission was to protect Rothschild's giraffe by breeding them in captivity. And now there's over 300 Rothschild's giraffes in various Kenyan national parks, and you'll get a firsthand look at how their work is, truly making a difference. It's a really neat place to stop and part of one of our responsible travel highlights while we're traveling. You'll also have the chance to immerse yourself in Maasai culture during a visit to a local village known as the Enkeng in Maasai language. And you get to connect with the community, learn about its people's daily life and traditions. You may even get a chance to see some of their famous jumping dances, which of course is another way to connect with people and discover more about their traditions and culture. And then one of the other ones, we hit the road for a spectacular mountain kiss journey on the way from Nyahuru waterfalls to Lake Nakuru National Park. Lake Nakuru National Park contains one of the most famous soda lakes. So it's in the Great Rift Valley. What's a soda lake? It's a lake full of sodium and carbonate, which is similar to baking soda. And scientists have actually theorized that the soda lakes may have triggered life on Earth. So while we don't really know that for sure, we definitely know that Lake Nakuru is a haven of ecological diversity. There's woodlands, there's savanna grasslands, rocky bluffs, and of course the wildlife actually absolutely shines here. And then on this particular tour, you could do a 5-night post-tour extension and be amongst the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. You visit this beautiful park You learn that the name Serengeti comes from the Maasai language, meaning extended place. The Serengeti is also the greatest concentration of plains game anywhere. It has also the most complex and least disturbed ecosystem on Earth. And for the first leg of this journey, we depart Amboseli for Arusha, busy city in Tanzania, and the gateway to, of course, Mount Kilimanjaro and the Serengeti. We discover in these exhilarating game drives that we do that this is the epitome of wildlife and classic African scenery. And of course, we visit the Ngorongoro crater on this one as well, which is the largest intact caldera in the world. It's, really abundant of beauty, abundant wildlife, breathtaking scenery, and the crater floor is actually home to a permanent population of animals that present a really incredible opportunity for game viewing. So you get to conclude your extended stay with the drive through Arusha on your way to Kilimanjaro International Airport. This is a really great 5-night post-tour extension for this one. And then we have our wilderness of Southern Africa by land and water. Again, this is a 15-day itinerary, but we do in Johannesburg, we go to Chobe National Park, we do Hwange National Park, Lake Kariba, and Victoria Falls. And it's just a really exciting way to see some of these areas. And again, this one again is a level activity level 4. It is a little bit more active than some of the other tours that we have pointed out so far, but this one does 6 game drives and safari cruises. There's lots of different ways that you can really experience the game and experience the animals because there's a variety of land and water safaris, which is really nice. River cruises are really an excellent opportunity to get close to nature. And with the large population of elephants, these lovely giants are really never far from the view, but you also get to see a lot of other wildlife who call the Chobe River home, especially the hippos. And don't be fooled, they look very gentle, but they can be quite violent. So keep your distance. I'm kidding. You'll be fine. You'll be on a river cruise, but they really are magnificent animals, and you'll have many pictures once you come back from some of these tours. So elephants are, of course, primary residents in Chobe, and this scene is just a glimpse of what you can expect during your private cruise. And then we also get to grab a poncho because you'll visit the exhilarating natural wonders of Victoria Falls. It's 1,708 meters wide and about 354 feet tall. It is one of the world's largest. And then the third picture there is Hwange National Park. It is the largest park in Zimbabwe. There's about 100 types of mammals and about 400 bird species in this park. It's known for being one of the best game parks on the continent. Again, another chance to see the big five as well as cheetahs, giraffes, elk, a whole lot more. And it's another popular watering hole for large populations of elephants, and that's because they're attracted to them during the dry season. This particular tour again offers a post-tour extension for the 4-night Cape Town. You get to have, obviously a ride up the iconic Table Mountain where there's sweeping views, and you get to really get to know Cape Town with its layered history and Cape Dutch architecture, giving you a really deep sense of the city's unique culture. And then one of the brand new tours that we have just launched, I'm very excited about this, is our Cape Town to Cairo. It really is epic. It is 25 days of traveling through the guts of Africa. As our product manager says, Roger, who has designed this tour, when he does his speeches, he always talks about traveling through the guts of Africa. But this is fantastic because there's wild savannas of South Africa and Kenya to the thundering cascades of Victoria Falls, and of course, then the ancient wonders along the Nile. This is the tour that we do. Again, overnight flight. We're in Johannesburg. We do Kruger National Park for 3 nights. Then we're in Cape Town, and then we fly up and we're in Victoria Falls for 3 nights for this one before we head up to, of course, Nairobi. We do Masai Mara, back to Nairobi, and then we fly up to Cairo and we do the Nile River. And then we go back to Cairo. So lots of really interesting sites that you can immerse yourself in right from South Africa right up to, of course, Egypt. And this one is an activity level 3. Again, a little bit more on the go, but again, it's more, walking. You don't want to miss a thing. 2.5 hours of a moderate paced walking tour isn't a big deal. There is so much to see on this tour. And, we couldn't do it in a short space of time. We really need that 25 days to see everything. And I sometimes think it's not enough, but it really does take you through some of these epic places like Kruger National Park. Again, untamed wilderness at the legendary Kruger National Park. You'll stay there for 3 nights. You leave Johannesburg, you get to watch all of those landscapes shift and see something that's really teeming with life. And you are at a lodge that perfectly positions yourself at the park's entrance. So lots of different highlights on this one. Of course, impact moment as you connect with conservation efforts during a visit to the Victoria Falls Wildlife Trust. You see conservation in action. Fly to Zimbabwe, you check into the lodge and you're seeing Victoria Falls, overlooking, the lodge overlooking Zambezi National Park. And then one of the other things that we do, of course, is step into the world of out of Africa with a visit to Karen Blixen's farmhouse, which we talked about on one of the other tours. We also get to see the Masai Mara on this particular tour. We stay in the fig tree camp in Masai Mara, and it's, of course, the land of the big cat diary lions. And then, of course, the Masai Mara National Reserve and surrounded by a river at the fig tree camp. Lots of elements of romantic, luxurious tented safari really brings you close to nature without giving up the comfort. And then, of course, you cannot see Egypt without visiting places like the pyramids of Giza and Karnak Temple. And you get to, really uncover the land of the pharaohs when you meet your Egyptian tour manager who will accompany you for the rest of the trip. And it really does, serve up a constant thrum of energy in Cairo because you get to experience this fantastic city. We sail, of course, on the Nile on the Blue Shadow and get to experience the tour from the river and just really get to experience a lot of really iconic sights as we travel along the Nile and soak in that timeless beauty of this fantastic river. We visit the Valley of the Kings, where we visit, of course, King Tutankhamun, the Ramses. We visit the temple of Queen Hatshepsut, as well as the Colossi of Men before we return to the ship for a late lunch. So you'll sail to Edfu, where you arrive the following morning. And as you sail upstream, you get to visit, and really witness the daily life of the small farms that are scattered along the Nile's banks, and just really appreciate the way that they live. And then when we disembark the ship at the end, when we go back to Cairo, we immerse ourselves in, maze-like lanes of the Canaan Khalili Bazaar. We can shop for hand-painted crafts, jewelry, fragrant spices, and then grand finale of this journey, 20 years in the making, the Grand Egyptian Museum is officially open. And we will get to see the museum's full collection that's on display. They have over 100,000 of the museum's artifacts and the complete Tutankhamun collection, over 5,000 treasures discovered in the pharaoh's tomb. And there's a lot of buzz about this one. So it's something that we are very happy to include on our tour. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Member Choice Vacations briefly. Company with integrity. We, during the pandemic, we refunded probably close to 230 million to travelers because it was the right thing to do. We are completely financially stable. We are completely debt free, and we're still family owned and family run. And it's just one of those things that we stand by. It is a very, very strong company. And we do a lot more than just air. We have our complete transportation package. So if you buy your land and your air with Member Choice Vacations through your trusted CA agent, you also will end up having a door-to-door private chauffeur service included in your trip to your airport, and you're covered, which is fantastic. And you can personalize your adventure. You can upgrade to elite airfare. You can, there's many different dining experiences that we offer on the tour that are included, but some of the dinners for certain destinations may not be included, but that's why you have your tour director there to put you in touch with local places. We have a couple of optional excursions on some of our tours, but maybe not as many as others. We keep it very simple. We offer the pre-nights and the post-nights, as you saw, and then, of course, the tour extensions as well. If you have traveled with us before, do not forget that you do get loyalty. Level 1 is our adventurer, and level 2 is our explorer. Our passport club loyalty credits are earned after a tour completion and can be applied to bookings on future dates that you want to take. So full credit of 5% is valid for your next tour when your travel is completed within 24 months of the original trip departure date. And then a reduced credit of 3% is valid for travel within 25 to 36 months. But the credit does expire after 36 months. I do believe there's plenty of tours on here that I've talked about that you can take and use that loyalty credit. It's a really good one to use and just take advantage of it while you can. We have a great offer Combined with this presentation that we're doing tonight with CA Northeast and, of course, Member Choice Vacations, you can save on tours for Europe, Africa, Asia, South America, Antarctica, Australia, and New Zealand. You can book your tour and save up to $200. You could book airfare and save $100 more, depending on the class of service that you decide to book. And then if you decide that you want to stay longer with the pre-tour or post-tour, you can save $100 more. But if you do want to book another tour back to back with this one, you can save an additional $100. And then don't forget, as CA members, you already have $100 off per person, plus the $50 to $75 optional excursion voucher. So that's valid on those tours. And then, of course, we also do North America and Central America as well. Lots of combined offers that you can take advantage of. And it is exclusive to CA Northeast starting on the 11th of April, obviously combined with that fantastic show that we have coming up in Ottawa. And just wanted to put that out there. But hopefully you have seen something that you've liked that's really piqued your interest that maybe you do want to book with your trusted CA travel agent. So if you have any questions, please do let us know. But I will turn it over to the lovely Karen.
Thank you so much, Heidi. That was a great glimpse into some incredible safaris. And yes, we do have a few questions here for you. Which safaris have the most viewing and time allotted to see elephants?
To be honest, I think any one of those are a really good choice. I think if you're looking for something where you're looking for elephants, the Ngor, anything that includes the Ngorongoro crater, I will say that getting feedback from a couple of people that I've already talked to that have done these tours, Kenya and Tanzania is definitely the number one, followed by the Victoria Falls, South Africa, Victoria Falls, and Botswana tour. Those are the ones where you're going to get the majority of the animals, where you're going to see a lot more, especially when you're putting in things like Kruger National Park as well. Yeah.
Do you help people who are traveling alone to connect with a flight from Canada with other Canadians traveling to the same safari in Africa?
So you would be booking your land and air with Member Choice Vacations through your trusted CA travel agent. We do have a variety of different people on our tours. We don't pair people. Unfortunately, we wouldn't necessarily do a room share basis, but we do have fantastic savings when it comes to solo travelers. Our single supplement is the lowest in the industry. It's about 25%. But you are never alone on these tours because you're traveling with a great group of people that all have a similar goal in mind. They want to see the big five. And I don't think I've spoken to anybody that's traveled as a solo that have come back with, that have come back not knowing anybody that they've seen on their tour. I think everybody has become part of this one big group and they all have these fantastic memories. But we don't pair anybody up, but we do have great options for solo travelers.
Great. When you say 7 game drives are included in the Kenya and Tanzania safari, does that mean that you'll have 2 game drives a day? That means 3 days and half of drives.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, when you're doing 7 game drives, they count the morning and the afternoon. So
Yeah.
you're doing 7 game drives as you know, because you have done this.
And it's incredible. They do get you up a little early in the morning, as you mentioned, to really experience it and then have, like, as you mentioned, have that wonderful breakfast afterwards, but it's worth it. Are
Yeah.
the flights within the tour on commercial jets or small chartered aircraft?
So within the destination itself, we include the internal flights, and they are slightly smaller planes, but they are reputable companies that we use within Africa itself to be able to get in between places like Cape Town, Johannesburg, and of course Kruger National Park or up to Nairobi. So they're not going to be a prop plane. They are regularly scheduled airlines that do fly to some of these different places. You will be very, very comfortable and it's very safe.
Great. Next question, what time of year is best? Well, I think that really varies on where.
It really does. Again, it does
Yeah.
depend. It does depend on what it is that you want to see. It depends on, everybody wants to go for the Great Migration, but I think most popular times for people to travel, especially because of the weather, right? The weather is very key to be able to see a lot of, what you're seeing without feeling like you're going to pass out from the heat. But sort of January, February are good times to go. Usually, I would say late September, October, November, really good times to go. Those are really the best times of year to go. I would say just keep in mind that, if there's certain things that you want to see, maybe do your research. We've had people that have traveled in July and August, but it just depends on what is most important? It's a bucket list trip. So I would say, have a look at some of the things that happen depending on the continent, depending on the migration, and just make your mind up based on that. But I would say, yeah, January, February, March, January, February, probably October, November are the two times that I would go.
Absolutely. And your CA travel consultant can help you with that because it really depends on what part of Africa. For example, I did South Africa and Kruger, and it was like that December to March time period. It's not quite hot. It's very comfortable. It's a great time of year to go. Not
Yeah.
much rain. So again, it depends on where in Africa. Sorry if I missed this. Are children allowed on the safaris?
We do have a capped age of 13. That's the only thing. We don't allow anybody under the age of 13 to travel. I'm very lucky. My kids just turned 13 in January, so maybe that's something that's on their bucket list. But yeah, any younger than 13, we don't take anybody on safari.
Actually, the next question falls right into that. Do
Yeah.
these trips interest teens, or are they really just suited for adults?
No, honestly, I can say for talking to our CEO Jacqueline Leibel Cote, and her family went on one of our safari trips, and they took their kids. So their twins are just a little bit older than mine, and then they have a daughter that's the same age as mine, my kids, and they went and they took the whole family, and it was just honestly that you cannot. I guess one of the things, and you can say to this, a testament to this, but you can't really look anywhere without seeing something new. And they're their interest is piqued constantly because they're seeing things that you wouldn't necessarily get to see while you're sitting in the basement playing video games, right? It's something that's really unique, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but they have a little bit of downtime. It's not always go go go, depending on the itinerary that you choose. You do the early game drives, you come back to the camp, you're spending some time, you get to use the pool, you get to have this fantastic lunch, there's Wi-Fi, they can catch up with their friends and, send these photos of all these great things that they've seen. And then they do an evening game drive, and then they have this wonderful dinner, and they get this beautiful sunset, and, get to talk to a lot of people, and then go to bed and do it all again the next day. I mean, which kid doesn't want to do that? I swear. It's an amazing opportunity.
It's absolutely so. If it's on your bucket list, we say put it now on your. Or if it's on your bucket list, put it
Yeah,
on your bucket list because it's absolutely.
it's a good one.
It's one of those trips that it's a must do. And like I
Yeah,
mentioned, I was totally surprised and blown away. I did South Africa and then Kruger,
yeah.
but the quality of the cuisine in the hotels and
Oh,
again, there's a safari and a trip. There's so many choices and options. And that's leading me into the last question here. Do we
yeah.
contact Member Choice or for more details about these safaris or through CAA? Your CAA travel consultant will, ask you all the right questions to find out exactly, what it is that you want to get out of your African experience and set you up with the actual perfect plan for you. Again, based on your budget, your timelines. We actually have somebody who's just back, I think, last week from our North Base or from Africa. We're out there traveling, so our team are sharing our experiences with each other, and they've got all the insider tips. And of course, we have the hotline to Member Choice Vacations. If we ever need some consulting, they're happy to jump on a call with us, and that's why it's such a great teamwork and why we love working so much with Member Choice Vacations. Working with your CA consultant, as I mentioned, they're there to do all the heavy lifting for you. They're going to find the right trip for you. You've got the exclusive member benefits. Now, Heidi's also thrown in that show offer for tonight. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no
And
problem.
she also mentioned if you're in the Ottawa area, we're going to be at the Ottawa Travel Show together. And that is on the 11th and 12th in April at the Rogers Center. If you're around, we'd love to see you. Essentially, your CE travel team, we're your one-stop shop for all of your travel needs. So on the very left-hand side, you can hit that QR code. I think this is pretty much we're wrapping up tonight for our virtual calls because the weather's starting to get good. But our CA stores are certainly, I know they're hosting an event in Ottawa as well tonight. So that QR code, you can just scan it there with your phone and that'll pull up all upcoming events. The book an appointment is a handy tool. You can book an appointment to see an agent on a time that suits you. If you want to come in person, over the phone, over video, whatever you prefer, we'll set you up. And if you'd like to share this or past travel talks, maybe if there's another couple or a family that would like to come to Africa with you, this will be up on our website tomorrow, and you can just click on that and view all of our past travel talks. Let me just have a quick peek and make sure no other questions have come in. Yeah, there's a couple more. I'd love to see the animals, but I worry about the animals being harassed by humans. What steps are being taken to ensure the animals are not stressed by visiting humans?
So we really do work with a lot of different lodges that we have built those relationships with. And we talk about impact moments and we talk about sustainable options. One of the big things on all of our tours is making sure that we are not affecting the places that we visit to cause over tourism. A lot of different itineraries that we use in other places, we will stay in what we call secondary cities so that we're not causing such a disruption and we get to introduce people to different places that are maybe not on everybody else's itinerary. And the same thing happens with our Africa tours. We are making sure that we are very conscious of the footprint that we leave behind, and we're using different partners in those destinations that really do take the animal care into heart as we're doing these safari game drives. And they are in their natural habitat. Believe me, they are not bothered at all by safari vehicles coming along, and it's not a convoy. You know, when you're staying at a safari lodge and you're with Member Choice Vacations, you are with Member Choice Vacations. There is nobody else there but your group. And so it makes it a little bit easier to navigate and to immerse yourself because you're just with that small group of people and you're not in a large convoy of people waiting to take the next picture of the Pride of Lions. They're very, very conscious of making sure that they are taking the animal welfare into account.
Absolutely. How far in advance should you book?
Now, honestly, I would say at this point, if you're thinking about booking for this year, I would check to see if there's space, especially for October or November or December. If you're thinking about 2027 for especially for the time of year that everybody wants to go to Africa, which is usually January, February, book it now. And I would say the best time to book it is right now, especially when we have this fantastic show offer and we can guarantee that availability so far out. It really takes nothing to put a deposit down to secure your spot. And as Karen said, your CA travel consultant is there to walk you through the process. It's super easy.
Great. Well, Heidi, thank you so much. And thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen,
No
and
problem.
happy traveling.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us.